welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who for 2 hours every day at random intervals turns into a mallard duck. It's Adam Hudgens.
In Canada, the mallard duck is the most noble of all birds.
Oh, no, it is. And
right.
I love mallard ducks. I was looking at a Muscovy duck the other day, and I said to him, why can't you be a mallard duck?
Of course. That's just the way it goes.
Then I felt terrible about it because it kind of gave me a nice look.
Well, mallards don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
So we went to the beach one time here in Canada, the Canada beach.
Yeah.
And my wife's friend's husband, I want to be very clear about that, fell asleep. And we were feeding ducks fish crackers, like those little goldfish crackers.
Yeah.
But with him sleeping, I just covered him in them.
Oh, no.
And he woke up to like 3 mallard ducks, like just standing on him eating crackers. And he was like, "Raw!" And then they were like, "Raw, raw, raw." It was the best moment of my life.
I would have woken up and been so happy just to have ducks next to me. I would love to have a mallard duck right next to me right now.
Just a pet mallard.
Now, a lot of people know about our Comic-Con history. You know, we worked I worked with you in the Toronto Comic-Con scene for a couple of years there, and
would it be fair to say that we dominated the Toronto Comic-Con scene?
Yeah, we pretty much. We owned it. We put in a headlock, did all that, but 2 hours a day you would turn into a mallard, and most people would hate it. But you would just kind of fly around and get people coffee, and I mean, you could still go grab shark. You were much quicker. You didn't have to worry about crowds. Your line control was on point.
You know who didn't hate it?
Who?
Was Erin Gray from Buck Rogers. She thought it was kind of neat.
Yeah, she thought it was awesome. Adam West, Batman, loved it.
Yeah.
Flash Gordon loved it.
Yeah. Sam Jones III.
I mean, just everyone was real. I mean, you didn't miss a beat when you were a mallard duck, which I got to say, I kind of got annoyed when you turned back to Adam because you couldn't fly to go grab us stuff anymore.
No, me as a person is my weakest form.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a mallard, you just take over parties. That's the one time I don't want you turn into, like, when we used to hang out, have nice get-togethers, and you would just dominate. Like the disco would start playing. I mean, I just left. You know,
the movie with Will Smith coming out where he turns into a pigeon is based on our exploits in the Toronto Comic Con after party.
Yeah, it is. That was legendary. I mean, they had a VVIP for you.
Right.
It was
a VID, very important duck.
Yeah. And then you're kind of like, this is cool, but no one's in here with me. And they're like, well, we're not going to let in wild ducks, you know?
No, they're not important ducks.
I didn't like that phase where you wore a vest too much.
Well, I wanted to be cast in Peter Rabbit.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I'm a duck wearing a vest, I'm a shoo-in.
Yeah. But
my shooting schedule with those 2-hour windows, they were like, if something went wrong, then all of a sudden I'd be Adam again, and no one wanted that. So then
you became Donald Gleason stand-in.
That's right. And, oh my goodness. You know, what is going on right now? So we went deep cut with this duck story.
When have we not? I was going to say, you with that vest, you looked as uncomfortable as Sly Stallone did in Cliffhanger with that giant jacket that we never see again, which is doing really well, by the way, the Cliffhanger episode we did.
Why wouldn't it? It's got everything, including the worst stage shots ever at the end.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Now,
so, Mark,
what's up?
I just want to say, as a segue into what we're talking about today, one of my pet peeves is when a celebrity or an actor passes and then everybody becomes that guy's biggest fan. Like, oh, I love that guy. So sad he's gone. But really they don't. We have a documented history. Almost every podcast we do, we put a list together, and you can hear my love for Rutger Hauer, and I try to put him on all my lists, and I'm always giving props to Rutger Hauer, and we lost him, and that's why we chose to do Ladyhawke today. I said, Mark, we got to do a Rutger Hauer episode, we got to do one of his movies. And, well, at first we were just going to do a retrospective of Rutger Hauer, but that's not really our style.
No.
So we wanted to base it on a movie. So Mark said he's a casual Rutger fan, hasn't gone deep into his library.
I'm the guy that posts the Blade Runner quote.
Right. And so he says, what would be the Rutger Hauer movie you'd pick to do? And without hesitation, I blurted Ladyhawke.
It was immediate. You said it as I had 2 words left, and you said it before that.
So,
and you were a duck at the time too, which is even better.
I was a duck. I had to quack, lady quack. So,
you want some lady talk? I stole your line.
No, I was going to do some lady talk tonight, which sounds way sexier than it actually is going to be. But I just want to say, like, before we get into it, on initial viewing, watching Ladyhawke for the first time, out of 10 stars, what do you give it?
Okay. Okay, I got a 2-tiered rating system.
I love it.
All right, first time I saw it, 7, right? First time, 7.
Okay.
Second time, after I read this really cool Tor article and reading more about the movie, 9.
Okay. So 7 is respectable for watching a movie that has aged from 85, was it?
Yeah. I gotta say, though, all credit to Richard Donner, the director, because he had a history of making things. He wanted to make things as earthly as possible. Like, he wanted to make things as realistic as possible. He didn't want dragons. He didn't want lizards. He wanted practical effects. There's very minimal special effects.
Even the transformations are done in such a way that it's more art than it is effect.
Absolutely. And the costumes in this, I said that very loudly. The costumes.
Passionately. You just said it very passionately.
In this movie look great.
Yes.
You watch some of these movies and you see the chainmail and you go, what are they getting at? You see the chainmail in this and you're like, I'm in.
And even when he did stuff that was different than history would have allowed, it didn't look bad.
Yeah.
Like when he made Rutger Hauer's night helmet does not look like any night helmet I've ever seen before.
Never seen anything like that.
But it's a cool design.
Yeah. Right? I have a question. Can I ask you a question?
Talk to me.
We did a Knight Riders pod. How would Ed Harris have done in Rutger Hauer's place?
So I think he would have been good. I think he would have killed it clearly, but I think he would have played a better bishop.
Yeah, I see that.
Like let him be the villain and really just chew it up.
Yeah, eat the scenery.
Yeah. And
this is the one movie I'm happy Kurt Russell didn't do.
No, exactly. Like, well, here's the thing. Kurt Russell, 2019. Oh yeah, I give him that role. Yeah. Kurt Russell, 85. No, he's too smiley.
Those baby blues.
Too smiley.
Yeah.
Don't need that right now. But like, if Kurt Russell did like a gritty retelling of this tale now, I'm in.
What about Backdraft, Kurt Russell?
Backdraft, Kurt Russell could have done a good job.
Sorry.
No. The best Kurt Russell for this would have been Breakdown Kurt Russell.
Oh, yeah. Hands down. Breakdown, hands down.
Breakdown. I think that was a movie that I went and saw because nothing else was playing. And I was like, this is actually kind of enjoyable.
How old were you?
When Breakdown came out, I was in high school because I went with, like, there was a bunch of girls that were like, let's go to the movies. And I was like, okay. And then that was all that was playing. So I was like, let's go see the Escape from New York guy.
I love it. Now, I'm hijacking everything you're trying to say. So were you trying to make a bigger point about Rutger Hauer here that I just keep hijacking?
No, that's what we do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, so much of my childhood was watching Richard Donner and Rutger Hauer movies. So like Superman, The Goonies, Lethal Weapon. When I got into like the like early teens, I was really into the Omen movies.
Timeline,
that kind of stuff. But Rutger Hauer just always showed up. So like, I remember watching Nighthawks a lot when I was in, like, it was on TBS a lot. That was him and Stallone, were the cops. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, you got to watch Nighthawks. It's fantastic. And then, of course, Blade Runner, right? And then Ladyhawke, Flesh and Blood. Hitcher, right? Blind Fury, where he played the blind guy. I talked about that one quite a bit.
Yep.
So he was just kind of always there, and I really love what he was doing. And
what was it about him that you liked so much? So with Kurt Russell, I like his unselfishness in roles. If that makes sense, like Big Trouble in Little China, he wasn't the hero, and I kind of like that blue collar mentality. Or Bruce Campbell, I've always loved because he's just a B movie guy. So
right. Rutger Hauer, I always thought, was a guy who said a lot without saying anything. Like when he's quiet, he sends the message. Like he is able to act that when he doesn't say something, you understand exactly what's going on.
Got it.
It's all in his face. It's all in his eyes. It's all in what he does. Right. But then he had this like resurgence in like the late 90s with like Sin City and Batman.
Yep.
Batman Begins and all that kind of stuff. And he's always been kind of there. And then he did like Hobo with a Shotgun, and he just showed up. And like my favorite show of all time is Smallville, and he plays a big part in Smallville for a few seasons. Oh, he's just always there. I just always loved him. Yeah, he played Morgan Edge, I think. He was like Lex Luthor's like arch villain or like competitor or whatever.
How terrible it'd be to work for a guy named Morgan Edge in a fictional world. Like,
I don't even want to work for Morgan Edge submarine sandwiches. I would just not work there.
That name just sounds too slimy. He's up to something.
It does. It really does. But Ladyhawke, also came from a time when I didn't own a VCR yet, and my aunt down the road did. And so when she would go to we had this place in Nipigon where I grew up called the Plaza, which had a single screen movie theater, but also was our video rental place. You walked in, it was a video rental place where you could buy a ticket and go in the back and watch a movie. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And so they would go down there, and if they rented a movie and it was good, they would then call us down the next day to watch it before they returned it. Oh. So like they'd rent a movie on a Friday night, and then if it was a good movie, they'd call and say, hey, why don't you come down and watch this movie with us on Saturday afternoon? And so Ladyhawke was one of those movies. And I remember it blowing my mind as a 7-year-old kid.
And it was so much. So from what I started looking into 1980s fantasy movies. And during that time, this movie really kind of stands apart from its, the other fantasy films that were floating around in that time. If you kind of think
about like Legend.
Yeah, so like I guess we'll start at 81. You have like Clash of the Titans, then you have Excalibur, right? And Time Bandits. Right. Then you move into Beastmaster, Conan the Barbarian. The kind of like very large men swinging swords, cheeky Terry Gilliam, Excalibur just larger than life, based on a legend, that kind of stuff.
Excalibur was also it was rated R, was it not?
Oh well, R wasn't yet. Oh no, R was yet. So yeah, I guess it was.
PG-13 wasn't.
Yeah, that was 80. That was after Gremlins. So it was like 85, 86. Yeah. So Conan the Barbarian, Dark Crystal. Then you moved into even the animated film, Secret of Nim. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Then you move into movies.
When did like Fire and Ice?
That was 83, and that was Kroll that year. Also came out. Right. So you kind of you're moving towards these. 84 was Conan the Destroyer. Then you had Never Ending Story. So you kind of had these movies opening up. But the interesting thing, like 85, listen to this though. 85 was Black Cauldron, Brazil, Dungeon Master, Ewoks, Battle for Endor, Ladyhawke, Legend, like Return to Oz, Red Sonja. So there were so many movies that came out that year. But Ladyhawke differentiates itself from all of those because it's a much more quiet. Oh, except for Matthew Broderick's talking, but I love that. Now,
it's so good.
But it's different than all of these. It's not the wiping lots of people out. I mean, there's death, but there's not much death. It's a character piece. It's a love story. So a lot of these movies.
I think every death.
What's up?
Sorry, go ahead.
And it's a little bit more gentle, right? Like Legend had some mean.
Yes. And like you said, there's no just like body count. I felt like every death here was heavy at some point in time.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Like when Michelle Pfeiffer kills Alfred Molina, which was awesome. When the dog murders that guy who's trying to murder Matthew Broderick. So there's not death to the extreme in this film. And you also have this love story. You have a very different type of leading man in Rutger Hauer. Now, I've been saying Rutger Hauer for years, so I'm just trying to, if I slow down when I say his name, get that. So it's very patient. It's the score by Alan Parsons
is bananas.
It is not Tangerine Dream, that's for sure. But it's
bananas in the best way.
I wouldn't lie if when that score came on the first time, I was like, yeah. I was going with it. I was making moves. So
yeah, like it's so bold. Just like when it starts, dun, 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 you're like, here we go. Like this is something's happening right now.
And it ends with a excellently choreographed sword fight with swords that feel heavy, with guys that are at the peak of their training. I have the choreographer down here somewhere. I have so many notes about this movie. Also, that's how it ends. I mean, this movie ends with two people fighting each other. And it's a really different. I can see how it didn't do well.
No, it lost money.
Yeah, but I can see that. And but I think that's why maybe it's aged well, because that church that they fought in at the end, the cathedral, they built that. Obviously you can't. So from a production standpoint, sorry if I'm mansplaining production, you can't go into a old cathedral, remove the pews. I mean, the floors are probably